All right, welcome to Bench Talk Live. I'm Coach Ben, your host today. I'm just going to let everyone kind of gather in here, shoot the shit a little bit before I get into a few questions. And as always, you guys can drop your questions in here or any topic that you want to talk about. I was driving home from the Home Depot this morning. I was thinking about the difference between bands and chains, popped into my mind. We're doing a lot of speed work, doing a conjugate style system with our, I don't know what's up with the quack facts. Serious question: will benching help with the bullies? It's like a running thing every week that we get this question. Of course, it'll help with the bullies. Um, so I was thinking on the way back, bands versus chains. What's your guys' opinion? Which do you like to use more? We vary it in our speed work that we're doing the conjugate style system here. Um, I'm impartial to both. I like the bands mostly. I like how they kick in. I like how they almost lock you into a specific groove, and I like how you can angle them to work on pressing against the bands. So you can make the bands work kind of against you, so you can develop a little bit of a better groove. The chains I like because they force you to stabilize harder. The chains move around a lot more. You don't really know how they're going to kind of fall to the floor depending on how big a chain. All right, apologize for that, guys. We had this stream in the room. Always a technical difficulty. All right, everyone, drop your questions. Just touched on bands versus chains a little bit. Just something that was on the front of my mind. What's up, Brian? If you're in there, I'm looking forward to those sweatpants there, my friend. Those look killer. Very nice design. Sip of coffee for the working man. You can see you got my New York cup. Let me show you guys here. Starbucks New York cup. Being a tourist in my own state. Look at that buffalo. Beautiful buffalo there. I like these little mugs. Every city you go to, they have a different one at the Starbucks. So, I have a little collection going. All right, guys, talking bench pressing today. Drop your cues. Whatever topic you want to talk about. Cam Newton and the Pats. Tough loss this weekend. We'll bounce back. He's looking amazing. Cam Newton's looking amazing right now. They're running a great scheme around him. AI training, that was a fake sip. That was anything but fake, my friend. All that went right down my gullet. Here we go. Sip of coffee to you. There we go. How does speed work increase your strength on the bench? So the reason we're doing speed work, working on being more explosive, working on that acceleration component, why I like to utilize the speed work right now. For myself personally, it's been something that I can manage because I had something going out my shoulder early on in the year, and I can do speed work. It doesn't bother me. I'd have to watch my elbow a little bit with the quick reversal strength out the bottom, especially when we're working with chains because that instability factor. But for the most part, I've been able to bench speed work because the weight's so light. So we're able to train more of the nervous system while we're doing speed work versus, trying to go for volume hypertrophy and that stuff. We can hit that in our rep work afterwards and accessories and things like that. But I like doing the speed work right up front in the workout, working on moving as quickly as possible, again, to build more explosiveness. I've seen, actually, we have a lifter who he was very slow on the bench. Strong guy, but he was into that category where he just moves slow. Some people just move the bar slow. All right, they have great strength, but they're very, very slow. And he would hit this nasty sticking point. And recently I've been watching his videos, and we implemented speed work about a month or two ago. And I'm already seeing some good payoffs. He's not slowing down as quick as he was before. He's able to accelerate through the bar more so. And we've been working on his triceps and things like that, and strength down at chest level. But it's the speed work here that's really starting to pick up his explosiveness, and it's getting that bar moving off the chest. We can get it moving quicker. He's going to have an easier time finishing out the lift. So I've seen it work wonders right now for some of those athletes who are a little bit slower. Maybe not as big a payoff if you're already super explosive. Maybe you want to explore some different options. You know some athletes who are just very, very explosive. We have one guy on the team who is a tremendous squatter, very explosive in his squat, reverses it right out the hole with a bang. Everything's very, very fast. I don't have him doing speed squats. I just don't see a need for it. We do some speed deadlifting with him, but we're on like a 3-day conjugate split, so I'd rather spend that time having him deadlift and bench press on his speed days. Rather than do any speed squats because he's already so explosive. So it really depends on the athlete. If you're somewhere in the middle or you're slower, I think it's a good option. But if you're already like boom on a dime, I think speed work, you might be able to replace that with something that might be more conducive for you. All right. For me, it was more like that's what my shoulder can tolerate, the lighter weights moving them fast. So that's what I'm doing. You can play around with how much volume you do as well, how much you can tolerate there. I've been trying to do 2 sets at a time. We do 5 reps, bang them out as quickly as possible. I've been doing anywhere from 8 to 10 sets with that. So we have our athletes doing anywhere from 5 to 8, 10 sets with speed work. No questions coming in here. Matt, in reference to a bands versus chains talk we had, I have been using bands. I like how you have to stabilize more and the resistance is elastic, more like a muscle tendon. Yeah, exactly. We actually have a lifter as well on the team who trains with us here at the gym, Kyle, who actually really likes the bands because it forces him to bring more awareness to what's going on with his back to stay in a good position. It's just been helping him really create that tightness through his back. And so we've been utilizing bands as a way to warm up for him. So he'll actually have a band on the bar, the empty bar, until he gets up to about his working sets, and then we strip the band down. Not much, just enough to kind of get him to reinforce that positioning because, hey, that's what seems to be working for him. He feels the difference there, so, we're going to roll with it. E.T. Rex lifts. What's up, my friend? Foot position for bench. I feel I get better leg drive and can push up on the bench, push up the bench better with heels up and feet pulled closer to the bench and head. But that's toes back leg drive. But keep being told to go wide with flat feet. Thoughts? I would do what you feel comfortable doing. Either way is a good style. I don't usually coach the toes back. We have lifters who do that and do that successfully. So I'm not picky on if you're going to do your feet flat or you're going to do your toes back. I think you can make effective leg drive either way. So if you're comfortable with that, I would just keep working on developing that. A lot of great bench pressers bench like that as well. I didn't like that as much because I couldn't get my hips as much involved. Right now, my hip flexors are so damn tight, I don't even think I can get my feet under me, to be honest with you. I haven't done that style in a long time. But it does help with hip positioning if you have a little bit of hip positioning issues. Usually that's going to stick you right at a spot where you don't really have to worry about screwing that up. So if your butt comes off the bench notoriously at meets, that's a good approach to take. Sometimes it helps you develop a bigger arch. There's a lot of hidden benefits there too. I just didn't like the stability I had for it. Couldn't really use my hips. It didn't feel as stable. So that's why I went to feet out flat. And that was probably one of the biggest things I ever did for my bench, is make that switch at the time. That really propelled me up. Thinking specific numbers, I think one of my first single ply bench meets, so RPS, was did a 465 single ply in a Rage X, and then one of the soon after meets, I worked up to 510 very comfortably a few months later, and then once spring started rolling around, I hit 600. That was the first time I did multiply, but just felt super stable. It was a really clean press. So it was definitely, at the time, one of the biggest technical changes I made that made a huge difference. I felt so much more stable, didn't have that rocking side to side or having to settle longer on the takeout. And for any shirted lifters, you want that takeout quick. You don't want to be messing around being in this position, waiting and waiting and waiting. I tell my handout guys to get me out there quick. And I've been getting a lot of lower back sciatic pain from being in the arch position, having my feet where I do. So it's been nice. Get me out quick, get me out quick, because the longer I'm like straining in this position, don't have control of the bar, the harder and harder it becomes, and to keep your back tight and stuff like that. So you want to get that bar out real efficient, real fast, controlled, everyone releasing same time. Sip of coffee for the working man. Emil GZ. I'm at a gym where the bench starts off in a lower position than I like to start. It's as if it starts the lifter almost in a half rep. Because of this, I feel like I lose tightness in my back setup. Without always looking for a spotter, do you have any tips for unracking the weight on a bench when you have a low starting point? So I guess I'm confused as if you talk about the rack height or the bench itself. If the bench is really low, if you're like on a commercial gym setup, whatever, my recommendation is to buy some real thick yoga mats. They probably get about 1 inch thick. I don't know what you can find out there, but you want to layer 1 or 2 of those up. That will give you more bench height, plus it'll give you more cushion to dig into. So it'll turn a commercial gym bench kind of almost into like a comp bench. It's never going to be the same, but you'll have more cushion. You'll have a little more girth because it's hanging out, but you'll have the height. So it'll get the height up. If you're talking about rack height, right, if you try to go on the highest one if you can. If it's too high for you, then you have to go on the lowest. If you're stuck on the lowest, then the major thing you can play around with, because usually you're stuck on like 1 or 2, there's no in between. It's like a hook and a hook. So you kind of need to have a hand on. There's no great way to work around that. Like I said, you can adjust the bench height a little bit by putting pads. So if you're not quite yet at the high point, you just stack some pads. Maybe you sacrifice having a little bit of a higher bench setup so you can reach that top one, making an efficient takeout. That's some ways you can work that through. But other than that, there's not a great way to work around that. If you're serious about trying to get your bench up, you just got to get the right equipment, the right people, some of the sacrifices you have to make if you want to compete at a high level. Rex lives at hip mobility. Been there, getting ready to switch to equip, currently raw. Be interested to see if that changes. Thanks. Yeah, I do think you'll notice a big difference between your raw lifting and your equip lifting in terms of stability based on where you place your feet. As a raw competitor, I wouldn't really notice too much difference. It's not like enough weight to really have to have that demand for increased stability. So you can do the toes back. I felt like I do toes back just fine raw until I got in the shirt, and then you start adding more weight to the bar, and then you start to get those imbalances. It helps to be able to get your feet in a different position. Ricardo Pedrosa, 89. A lot about mobility in my upper back, but can't arch my back more. What best way to promote more arch? I already retract scapulas and get lots of air in. So, I'm thinking you're saying you have a lot of mobility in your upper back, but can't arch your back more. So I wouldn't really worry about it, to be honest with you. Everyone's going to be in a little bit of a different position. Everyone's going to have different flexibility. I think you could do mobility work, the flexibility stuff, and all that till the cows come home. But unless, that's just kind of in your genetic cards and whatnot, I don't think that spending all that time trying to get to that level of flexibility, like you see some of those people on Instagram, huge arches, I don't think it's worth the time to try to get to that when you can be in a good position. You say you're developing good T-spine extension, you're getting into a good retracted position, so that's fine. Keep that. The increased arch, it's just a tool. It's like going a little bit wider with your grip. It causes less range of motion, but you don't necessarily need to do that. Has a good arch, but want more. Like I said, my friend, I really wouldn't worry too much about it, because I don't think that's going to lead to you having a ton more success. I think sounds like you're doing a lot of the right things already. So I'd worry about bringing more tightness, more strength to that. than I would trying to develop more arch just to try to cut range of motion. All those little things I talk about in terms of setting up, like using the bar as leverage, making sure you have the right traction, little things like trying to bend on the bar as you're bridged up and learn to lengthen the neck, all that's helping you get a little bit more positioning every time. All right, so all those little tricks add up, but I really wouldn't worry too much if you already feel like you're in a good position with the upper back about trying to gain more flexibility. A lot of where you see I get that arch from is just because my hips are in a shitty position, and it affects me drastically with the squat and deadlift. It's not a good thing. I'm in a lot of extension. I'm able to get my butt down very efficiently, though, for an arch on the bench press, but it hurts the back, and it's not great for squat and deadlifts. So I don't like that trade-off per se, but that's how I'm able to get into a decent arch. So it's not a great thing. AI training, do you like bouncing out of the hole on squats? I do not like bouncing really out of anything. If there's good tension there, if there's good hip tension and people are able to realize that they're keeping that tension, then I'm okay with it. If you're just kind of barreling out and it looks like you're just kind of bottoming out on your structure, that I don't like. So you can be a quick squatter out of the hole, good reversal, but have that hip tension. Okay, so big difference there. And that's more like, if I have a lifter like that, I'm looking to see how the training looks, how the squats look, and then I'm also asking them specific things and having them do different drills just so I know they know, what that hip tension should feel like, and they're not just bottoming out. My man Sammy Chu, the grill master. I do speed squats every time I eat Indian food. Can't get to the bowl fast enough. That's right, my friend. That halal food, I tell you what, me too. Me too. Hey man, just started a general strength and conditioning routine, doing a press, squat, and hinge 3 times a week. For this general setup, would you recommend flat bench or should I bench with an arch? I recommend the upper back positioning, so retraction. But if you don't train to get bigger numbers in the meet, and it's more relative to sports, I'm not gonna stress like a huge monster arch and like trying to play around with everything to get a better arch. I'm just concerned that you're keeping your shoulders in a good position to press, and that in good lower body tension. But you don't have to take it to the extreme a powerlifter might. Matt says, how much are you training your calves? I feel attacked. Important for the bench or more for squat and deadlift? I think he's calling me little, Matt, you calling me little calves here. That's why I'm hiding them. That's why I'm wearing long pants today. No, I think I got decent calves. No, I don't do any direct calf training. The direct calf training I do get is if I get a little behind the squat bar when I'm unracking it, and then you're freaking calf raising the thing back in place. But other than that, no. It's kind of like bicep training. If I have the additional time with accessories, or if I go out and do accessories at a gym somewhere, sure, I might do something just to play around. But it's just there's other things I'd rather do. I'd rather do more ab work, which I really should, rather than hit my calves. So, no, I don't see. I can understand, where you might think that too, in terms of like heel driving the toes back stance and stuff like that. I like to cue more people to do more with their hips than anything, but being stronger anywhere is a benefit. So it's just how much compared to what else you could be doing. But good question there. Mike C. I'm about 6'8" with long arms. Should I touch my chest with every rep? It puts my shoulders in an awkward position. Should I just lower my weight and train to touch my chest? Just benching recreational, not competition. So again, it's one of those things. If you're just recreationally benching, you can do whatever you want. You can definitely work to a 2-board press if it keeps your shoulders in a better position. You can use the slingshot. You can use whatever, because as a power lifter, right, we have to compete a certain way, there's certain standards. It's not like we're wearing a slingshot in the meet, or we have boards we can press off of. So I would do what feels comfortable for you. and just build that up. And that's good at the end of the day if you're just doing this to stay strong and healthy and whatnot. If you're a competitive power lifter, you do need to be able to go full range. That's an important aspect. So sometimes you sacrifice. Maybe that's not anatomically great for you, but that's the rules of powerlifting. So it's a little bit of a trade-off there. Best back movements to build stability for bench. So I like a reverse band bench row where you have the bar suspended in a rack and you're rowing it down and creating that bottom end tension. I like doing any row holds. I like a seal row hold, a banded row hold, seated, anything where you have to like get in this retracted position like you'd be on the bench and hold. A lying lat pullover hold, right? Use a PVC bar. Band's pulling you back, right? You're laying on the ground, you pull the band forward, and then it really makes you lock down with the lat, so that's all great. Something that I also been playing around with is having a lifter take like 40-50% their max and do a 10-second pause at the chest, because now we're loading the same way we would be in the bench, right? The weight's coming down, we're loading eccentrically, and then right at chest level, we're just creating as much tension as we can with light weight. And I think that's a really important thing to have in training too. So I've been playing around with that, where I think a lifter could have more of that tension in the bottom position. If you only have 140 kilograms to work with on a barbell, how would you recommend progressing? So the major things there is to work up to that point, see how many reps you can get. If you can continue to add reps, that's good. On the work capacity side of things, if you can do that weight in less time each set, so say you do 5 sets of that weight, but you have to rest like 2 minutes in between, if you can cut that down and do that work in less time, that's progression. So you gotta look at those couple of things. If it just looks better, if it moves faster, if there's a way to actually measure your bar speed, those are all ways to progress. If you're stuck, capped off at a certain weight, you can't necessarily add weight to the bar, then those are ways you can see progress. I'm not sure what 140 kilograms is for you in terms of percentage, but those are ways you can progress that. Thoughts on the Spoto press, Zoomer Doomer. Spoto press, I'm a big fan of. I actually input it for our athletes as the t-shirt press, because just with the Spoto press, it has that, people think of it as being mid-range every time, and a lot of times I just want an athlete to get as close to the chest as they can, but not lend any of the weight in. Don't let any of that weight deload. So I say a t-shirt press because you're stopping it just on the hairs of your shirt, but you're not necessarily, you don't always want to go mid-range with it. Sometimes we'll do mid-range stuff, especially for our equipped lifters who you need a little bit more lockout strength. But for a lot of raw lifters, I keep it as like the t-shirt press, keep it as a low Spoto, however you want to think about it, but same type of deal. When you say build strong upper back for bench, do you mean strong 3 to 5 reps or big 10 plus for something like rows? So I utilize both. So some of our big rows, pen lay rows, barbell rows, seal rows, T-bar rows, something where we can move more weight in general. Usually going to have an athlete do lower reps and use a little body English and just try to get weight up. But then we're also going to do some really strict stuff like a one-arm dumbbell row where we're going full protraction. We're going to do the retraction first and then finish the movement. And we're going to do it for higher reps. So we utilize both there. Kelly Williams, what is your best raw bench and what do you think helped you most to get there? My best raw bench in competition that I actually tested out was 440. We ended up 440 that day. I was kind of shooting for a little bit more, but you take what the day gives you. And in my progression for that, I'd say one of the big movements I threw in there, because going from equipped lifting to raw lifting, making that change, you really have to build up that bottom end. I felt weak down there because you never really take heavy raw weight all the way down to chest and have to stabilize there because you have so much tension built up in the shirt. So making that change, I just want to spend a lot more time down there. So a lot of pause work. as that was my weak point. That might not be your weak point, but a lot of pause work for me and dead pressing. I did a double dead press where it's just in an effort to spend more time down near that level, really low dead press. Start it explosive, boom, go up like half an inch, hold it again, and then explode out of that. So just really displaying control through the full range, especially down chest level. Those are some things that help me out a lot. Thoughts on the Larson press? So I think that's a even better version of feet up training because you can't really cheat the positioning. So I think Larson pressing's great, especially doing it high reps, working for hypertrophy, just with your legs hanging out. So there's no way to actually kind of prop up onto your traps either. So you actually have to use your upper back strength only in order to stay in a good position. You can't use your feet. Dara McNamara. Hey, Coach Ben, would you recommend any exercises to build reversal strength for raw or shirted bench press? Yeah, so I think speed work works really well for that. Throwing on the bands or chains, accommodating resistance, and just trying to control touch and go, get to a spot and reverse it. You know, that's I think one of the best ways to train it is to just cue the intent when you're doing speed work. And then if you do have access to weight releasers, I think those are really interesting too. I didn't like them for my bench stroke just because I don't move very far with my bench, and it was kind of clunky. But the idea of taking down a bunch of weight and then being able to quickly explode into it, I think is pretty cool if it was like made a little bit smoother. So those are some things that you can do. But yeah, I would work on, if you're working on that reversal strength, either spend a lot more time down at chest level so you're strong down there, keeping tension with your back and whatnot, and then speed work, touch and go, to really build that up. What do you think about doing Smolov Jr. for bench press? I get that question quite a bit. I'm not familiar with Smolov Jr. I imagine it's just a lot of benching, which I'm a fan of. Hey, get a lot of benching in, whatever you can recover from. I think majority of people need to push themselves more anyway. So it sounds great, but probably more of a short-term thing than it is a long-term bench programming. Sip of coffee for the working man. We got a code coming up, guys, 20% off. You can save on our website tonight. Ends tonight only, midnight tonight. You want elbow sleeves, wrist wraps. We have bench programs in there as well. You want to pick up a t-shirt, a hoodie, because it's getting that fall weather. We got a code I'm going to drop in just a little bit, so stay tuned. You're going to receive 20% off our website for tonight only. My thank you for listening through and tuning in with us. Sal S. I'm doing 5x5 with only 165 pounds, and I'm doing 3 reps on the last set. I'm doing 5x5 with only 165 pounds and doing 3 reps on the last set. Should I just increase the weight since I know I can get 5 for the first couple sets? So you're feeling a drop off as you're going on. That is more like a work capacity issue. You're not recovering in between from the work. So that you can build up over time by keep pushing the rest periods. I like speed work for that as well, because that, if you do speed work right, especially squats and deadlifts, you are huffing and puffing. So that's a great way to build up that work capacity. But that seems to be the problem, is just you're fatiguing as you go on there. All right, we're going to drop the code, guys. All right, code is Big Pecs Cash Checks. Big Pecs Cash Checks. That's a little Massonomics phrase. You'll see that right there on the poster behind me. Bench heavy, shaped like, I believe that's Coors Light. Big Pecs Cash Checks. Okay, that is today's code, BIGPECCSCHECKS. For those who need to have it spelt out, that'll save you 20% off on our website tonight only. We have everything in stock, wrist wraps. We got two different kinds of wrist wraps, multi-purpose, so quick, easier on and off, a little less aggressive of a wrap. And then we have our big bench and stiff wraps that are going to support, even if you had 1,000 pounds on the bar, you are going to cast those wrists up. So tonight only 20% off with the code BIGPEX Cash Checks. Had some couple questions come in the other day on our Instagram. Do you vary your hand positioning with benching? I try to as much as possible. I don't as much when I'm doing the speed work in the workout. Workout to workout, I probably vary a hand position. How I've been doing it lately is, I'll stick with a certain thing for 4 weeks, and then the next 4 weeks I'll switch things up. Maybe it's closer grip, or we do boards or something like that. Something's going to change to have some variation in there. But I'm totally open to playing around with doing it intraset too, like you traditionally see like West Side do it. Switching grips every time you do a set and your speed work. Going from wide into close and back out and whatnot, always changing it up. I like to keep it a little more consistent on the broader scale, but then switching up like every 4 weeks. But from our main workouts too, like I'll be in my comp grip for maybe some of the main stuff, and then like secondary would be close grip, so there's always different grips taking place in the training for sure, just kind of fit in differently. Max Whitman, any tips for getting into very tight shirts besides slip-ons and baby powder? So I'm not a fan of the baby powder because the baby powder, you're all slippery. So now the shirt can move around a lot too. So I like to stay away from that. Putting the baby powder in the sleeves, it helps get it up, but then, very well could work against you too, because it's just easier for the shirt to maneuver around at that point. I'd rather have slip-ons. They're very easy to use. Slide that shirt all the way up. But besides those two things, I like the little trick of I pull down the chest to get it tight. See what I just did there? Right? I pull the shirt down, and then I wedge that armpit into the knurling of a barbell, and I just kind of punch into it, get it up in the armpit a little bit more if I need to position the shirt higher. So that's a little trick that I use as well. Matt says, what do you think of the reverse bench? Worth it or just something for razzle dazzle? I don't know if you're referring to the reverse band bench row there, Matt, or you're actually talking about reverse bands on the bench press. Maybe if you can clarify on that, if it's specifically the row or the method to try to get more weight on the bar for overload. Just let me know on that. Hey, Coach, how many days do you think someone can bench press per week to focus on building up their bench press? Not even squatting or deadlifting. How would you split it up? So, kind of depending on where you are in your training, and if you're pretty new, you can bench a lot. You can bench very frequently because you're not handling a ton of weight yet. Our bench-only lifters will bench, have a bar in their hand bench pressing either 3 times a week, up to 4 times a week in some variations. Usually not flat bench, but definitely 3 times a week as a bench-only competitor. I would try to get the bar in your hands, whether it's a bamboo bar, a variation bar, different intensities, just benching more frequently for sure. I would try to make that a regular thing. Reverse grip bench, you supinate your hands. Oh, okay. So the supinated bench press there, I don't use that frequently. I've played around with it a little bit because my shoulder, but I was still feeling the same things. So it wasn't really an issue of getting my lats engaged well and stuff like that. But whatever was going on, reverse grip or not. But that's when I gave it a little run. I like the reverse grip more like a teaching tool because you can really get into your lats and hit your triceps pretty effectively. So if someone has a hard time really engaging with how their back should be loaded in the bench press, I think it's a valuable drill, a valuable exercise. Also, it's going to hit the triceps a little bit differently. I'm not sure if Jimmy's still in here. Jimmy Cobb popped in a little bit earlier. He's really been pushing the reverse grip bench. I've been seeing him do a lot of work with that. He seems to love it. So I think you could make that a valuable accessory. Um, I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but I would be careful with it too, because especially if you're unracking it yourself, you really want someone to bring it out for you. I felt really uncomfortable unracking that. I wasn't used to it yet, but you're in this really weird type of grip trying to get that bar out. So I definitely use a hand out and just be careful with it. Um, really focus on that wrist stability. But I did like how it hits your triceps in a little bit different way. So I see some value, and then I really think it kind of gets overplayed a little bit. But um, I don't know. Maybe I'll start utilizing it with our athletes. See, do a little experiment there for those who I think could use that. But yeah, I haven't done too much with it. Great tip. I almost always get a handoff for the reverse grip bench. Yeah, I can see why you'd want a handoff. I get nervous taking that weight out so it gets heavy. If you're over it, it's easy. It's all the principles of just getting that lockout and dragging out the lats, but it's kind of hard to get that supinated, the reverse grip. I have a hard time just getting my hands like that, to be honest with you. OHJ, I just plateaued at 255 times 14 and want to move forward or toward the 5 rep range. Would you slowly lower the volume or go right to 5 rep sets? So I think you could do both. I think you could do some main work where you're doing lower reps. And traditionally, I'll never put in competition style benching for more than 5 reps. If I'm asking someone to get into their comp setup and treat it like a competition, pauses and all that, I'm not going to have them go over 5 reps. If I have them go over 5 reps, it's probably going to be either designated hypertrophy work, and I'm not as concerned with holding that position for that many reps, or it's usually just going to be like feet up or something like that. But I'll never really ask someone to do full comp setup and hold that for more than 5 reps. So I don't think there is any need to, because you kind of start getting away from what we do at a meet as a 1 rep athlete. So I would do both. I would work your strength component earlier on in the programming in the day, and then later on I would do the high reps. So I would do the 10 to 15 reps there as secondary work. Obi Matt, I'm upping my protein now. How do you combat the meat sweats? That I have not figured out, I don't think, yet. Depending how much protein you're eating, yeah, that can hit you hard. I'll tell you that. I don't know how my stomach's still going with all that digestion. I've been doing steak and rice has been my thing lately. I like chicken thighs. I'll probably pick up some chicken thighs. Chicken thighs, pork, and steak really been my go-to meats. Throw that in with some rice and little veggies, and that's kind of been my everyday. Try to grill that up twice a week on a Sunday and a Wednesday, and I've been getting a little more consistent with that. So those are my go-tos. Plus, whatever I end up getting on the smoker, if we get brisket, my briskets haven't been so great. Salmon I do really good, so I'll try to do that time to time. All right, guys, so if we got some more questions, shoot them in now. Otherwise, we're winding down. Sip of coffee to the working man. All right, shoot your questions. Got a little more time if you want to get question in, topic, whatever you guys want to talk about. Again, the code I'll drop again real quick for you, Big Pecs Cash Checks. You can save 20% off our website, bigbenches.com. We also have a couple great events coming up. With Canada, the Bench Clinic Canada got rescheduled to February 23rd. So anyone in the Canada area, hopefully you're able to travel out there at that time. But regardless, we're going to get that clinic in. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited to come up there. And then December 12th, I will be in Michigan. All right, so anyone in the Michigan area, you can travel, commute in for that. That's going to be in Kalamazoo. That is going to be at Warrior Training System. I'm really, really excited to come out there as well. December 12th, Michigan Bench Clinic. And then put it out there for anyone who knows a gym in their area. I'd love to come out to your area. Just put me in contact. Give me the email of the gym you think will be a good fit. I'll reach out to them. Or if you're a gym owner yourself, feel free to message me. We'll set something up. I make it really, really easy to schedule them. I'll do all the work. You just need to let me know. JC, how much do y'all bench? 820 is my best bench equipped. Zvane Holland, what's up, my friend? Hey, my good man, I am very grateful for your tip on using a football bar when you have wrecked shoulders. It works really well for me. Really glad to hear that, my friend. I remember I was giving you that tip. The Cadillac Bar from Kabuki, I think I was telling you specifically about. I have not personally used it, but I've heard that it works really well for those who have some issues with their shoulders. So, and I like the fact that it's not going to roll your wrist, because that's the main issue with a football bar. Is you got to touch on this weird angle to keep a good wrist position, because it wants to bend your back and stuff. And this one's supposed to be like the weight's dispersed right. So I don't know if there's anything to it, but yeah, hopefully maybe you can get your hands on that, and that'll feel good too. But I'm glad that that's helping you out, my friend. All right, guys, any more questions? I have a little bit of time to take a few more here. If you want to just shoot the shit, talk about any kind of training topics, let us know what you're doing in your training. Again, drop the code during the podcast for 20% off. BigBenches.com tonight only. Looking to schedule some more events, bench clinics, get out to some more powerlifting meets. I know a lot of them are kind of up in the air here and there, and it really depends on the area. Zvane, we'll try out the Cadillac Bar. Awesome, my friend. Yeah, I think that'll be really good for you if you find good results with the football bar. JC, your self-unrack video was very helpful. It's how I found your channel. That's awesome, my friend. I'm really glad that you're here. Thanks for jumping in on the podcast today. Yeah, so the unrack, definitely a self-unrack. There's a lot of components that go into that, and getting the right height to the pad and the bench, and just figuring all that stuff. That's probably one of the biggest things that helped me recently when I made a 90-pound leap last summer from a 730 bench to an 820 bench. That was huge for me, is really dialing in a lot of the unrack stuff. So I'm glad that that's helping you out. I do it in a power cage now, and I just set everything up just right. Bench stations were junk. Yeah, that's how you have to do it. You really have to get that correct to what you need. So rack height, super important, all that stuff. Dubs in 965. Any tips for elbow pain, coach? Didn't affect me until I started doing handstand push-ups. Now it kind of hurts when I do behind the head tricep press, getting towards a locked out elbow. I don't do handstand push-ups anymore. So usually eliminating the accessory that was causing the issue will do the trick for you. But I usually just have to eliminate what was stressing it before and give it some time to rest up. And that's usually all it's taken for me to manage a lot of elbow issues. But we do have a great bench warm-up for the elbows I just put that out there. Do soft tissue above and below the elbow. So I like to kind of roll out the forearms, hit the triceps, roll all that area out, barbell on the biceps, everything surrounding the elbow joint. And then I do some floss work with it. And then you'll see in the warm-up video a lot of high rep, like tricep pushdowns and stuff, just to get blood flow into areas. And don't forget, throw your big bench's elbow sleeve on, and then you're good to go. So Yeah, that's the best warm up approach, at least for that. Um, and hopefully that'll help it heal up and go away quicker. But I think you did the right thing getting those handstand push ups out. Probably wasn't a good position for you. Where do you find that? The warm ups? The warm ups I'm actually going to be putting out today. I want to try to get them out today. I'm going to try my best, either today or tomorrow. But they're going to be a free download. You'll probably see a little sponsored link or something pop up for them. But how you can go about downloading that is get on our email subscription, because that I'm going to send that out to everyone that's on our email list. So uh, make sure you sign up for that. You can do that at bigbenches.com. You'll be able to see on the homepage and stuff where you can sign up for our email newsletter. But that will be getting sent out to everyone on our email newsletter. Also, you can get that on our Facebook page, and then I'll probably post the link too on Instagram. So if you want to check those out, get on the email newsletter. It's the best way to stay in contact with all. Every time I put out something, it goes to you guys there. Game Chasers, I have been able to catch all your podcasts, but the channel is very informative. Thank you, and keep it coming. I meant not. Oh, so you haven't been able to listen to podcasts, but the channel is very informative. I appreciate that, my friend. I'm glad you like it. I'm trying to put out some good stuff for you guys with the vlog, do different like training sessions that we're filming, stuff like that. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying that. If you ever want to see something specific, shoot me a comment. Always trying to expand everything. Bring more good information to you guys, bring more entertainment. One more sip for the fans. A deal. Sip of coffee to you. Sip of coffee to the working man, everyone. All right, guys. We're going to wrap this up. Again, 20% off tonight only by using the code that I announced earlier in the podcast. All right, Big Pecs Cash Checks. Okay, use that code by midnight tonight. You'll be able to save 20% off your order for elbow sleeves, wrist wraps, programs, hoodies, whatever you're looking for. All right, guys, I really appreciate everyone tuning in. Also, check out our VIP membership. If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes or Spotify, I'm going to play a little role for you right now. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.